as teacher educators, we seek, me and my colleague, and other colleagues who work in the Kibbutzim College of Education in Israel, we seek to examine models for learning and teaching and to provide our students who are going to be the teacher of tomorrow some experiences that prepare them for teaching in this age. And we also, personally, me and my colleague, we also want to promote some kind of pedagogical, of thinking about pedagogical innovation. So what I'm going to show today, connects two areas of studies that I've been involved in during the last years, and the first of which deals with thinking about pedagogical innovation by teacher educators. So, if you may, close your eyes and just think of the images that you see when you hear pedagogical innovation or innovative pedagogy, whatever. Have it, even if your eyes are open. Anyone want to share? An image, like.
I saw this documentary with a fifth grade teacher teaching peace games in his classroom. And there were no lectures, the kids weren't sitting at desks, it was just a game where they were modeling a UN.
And gaming.
Yeah.
Any other image?
It's just the idea of a teacher being really enthusiastic, like a teacher that's actually really motivated about the education that they're supporting the students.
Like the first presenter, the keynote presenter in the morning.
Exactly, yes, exactly like that.
It's interesting that both you and you some teachers. Yeah.
My image would be new and engaging and exciting.
And you see students or teachers in this image?
I was thinking of students, but
Okay. And you?
I thought of a lot of visual information in a room, like video or like objects, and like I just saw this room full of visual cues.
So you saw like more technology in the room?
Yeah.
So,
if I can add,
yeah.
for me, but outside is the world of formal schools, I can see environments without a teacher, without someone who is playing the filtering role, the gatekeeper role, and it's something that is already happening anyway. So people who help each other doing things, learning something.
With no teacher.
With no teacher,
Yeah.
yes.
And not formal setting. Yeah. I have some images prepared for you in advance, or maybe maybe that's what you saw in your mind. Some kind of offline collaboration among learners. Maybe you saw a room full of technology like that. Maybe you thought about flipping up or down the columns, the categories for the 21st century or whatever. I'll skip that because we had enough from you. Maybe you did think about some kind of new or innovative assessment going on as part of the 21st century pedagogy, or something like that. Maybe you even thought about MOOCs. Anyone here thought about MOOC when I asked you to close your mind? Your eyes? Okay. We did the same in study number 1. We did somewhat the same exercise with teacher education, educators, when we collected the stories, not images drawn, but narratives. And a second study, I'll speak about later, thought to focus on MOOCs more directly. So both studies were done during the last 3 years. The first one took place in 2011, 2012, and the second one is still on some kind of ongoing. Here we collected, in the first study, we collected 110 responses from teacher educators in colleges, not only my college, but other colleges of education in Israel. And I want to show you only one part of this, of the responses. Their response, their narrative to the question, the responses to the question describe a situation in which you implemented pedagogical innovation. In study number 2, we went on a different path, research path, and we did some kind of in-depth interviews. It was a qualitative research. This one also more mixed method research. So I'll begin with the finding of the first study. So we collected the stories, like I heard yours now, and try to analyze what we see. And first, we saw the most prominent categorization that emerged was among those teachers, teacher educators, that saw no innovation at all at the field of practice. They would say something like, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that people say that is innovative, I've done before. Bloom was talking about it, and all these old guys from the 20th century talked about it. No innovation in the 21st century. It was not a large group of responded to say so, but it was prominent. The second group was the largest, and they mentioned technology, although in the question no technology was apparent. So we just asked about what you see, like I asked you. And they did mention technology with large numbers. And the third group, which was between the two, tried to define pedagogical innovation for them. So here I'll skip that, some categories of that. I want to focus on those who mentioned technology. Among them, it was what we found is that most of them are using general terms like online learning, LMS. Sometimes they were using specific LMS like Moodle, but still it is the general terms of mentioning technology as part of innovation, pedagogical innovation. The second finding was that they were not, it was done 2011, 2012, and they were not mentioning the most updated technologies, learning technologies. For example, in those years, smartphone began to enter into the classroom, smart boards, and they were not mentioned at all. So they were mentioning like computerized software, specific applications that were then more used, but not the most updated ones. And the third finding is that we couldn't find any future thinking among those who mentioned technology. So they didn't think about the technologies of the future, not even the current, but also not the future. And the most, what was lacking the most, sorry, where am I? What was lacking the most, they didn't speak about openness, they didn't speak about open educational resources, they didn't mention open education at all. From all the 110 respondents, there was only one who said something like, in my course in the Open University of Israel, I taught or I used specific elements. That's the only place where we found open in some kind of form in their answers. So from this I want to go to the second study. Just for a summary, we found out that we expected to find some similarities to what other professional experts are speaking about or are imagining when they think about innovation. And we couldn't find it in the teacher-educator's discourse of innovation. So here I want to move to the second study. A little bit of background, it was done, as I showed before, during 2012, 2011, 13, this year. We began our process of interviewing people within our college before all this hype about MOOCs happened in the media, but it joined or it accompanied our efforts or our process of research throughout 2012. And I also want to remind us that before 2012, all MOOCs, all massive open online courses were connectivist ones because it was before Sebastian Thorn and Coursera and Stanford and edX. So we were speaking about connectivist MOOCs. I personally got engaged with George Siemens and Stefan Dorn's courses in 2010, and we tried to show or to present the idea to our college administrators and those who decide. And throughout these presentations, we just heard their voice regarding this, what we thought pedagogical innovation. So we came into this idea of interviewing our colleagues, thinking that the phenomena of MOOC, the connectivist MOOC, some kind of redefining what it meant by learning, by teaching, and by assessment. And we also thought, me and my colleague Sarah, we thought that MOOC might blur the boundaries among these, all these things. And therefore, we thought about the teachers, the teacher of the future, those who are educating in our college, they might gain some professional gains from participating in MOOCs as learners, from gaining experience in facilitating MOOCs, and we thought that also about our colleagues, teacher educators. So we started this process of interviewing people around the college, and we naturally thought about connectivist MOOCs, But then, because it was 2012 and the year of the MOOC, our interviewees either didn't know what we are talking about, didn't hear the concept before, the name before, or they thought about what was later called X-MOOCs, the Coursera ones. At that time of the presentation, you might be wondering what the sailing boat is doing in part of showing you that the presentation is going forward. Anybody here knows Hebrew? No. Okay. So when we started this process, we thought about providing a Hebrew name, a Hebrew term for the MOOC. In English, MOOC sounds, okay, but in Hebrew it sounds worse. And especially when you turn it into plural form, in Hebrew you would say MOOCs. In Hebrew we would say MOOCing. That's how we turn singular into plural. So it is not a good word in Hebrew. So we offered a different name in Hebrew, which is the same abbreviation like online, open, massive, and participants, and it comes out as a word for sailing boat. So that's why the sailing boat is here. And now for the findings of the second study. So we did these interviews, in-depth interviews, recorded them, and then analyzed them qualitatively. And here we did find openness as an emerging concept. That's why the title of the presentation. Openness emerged as a key issue from our analysis. And we separated it, or we found it in three different kinds of stories. The first story occurred or was told to us as happened on May 2011, and it was a story about of one colleague, one teacher educator, who had the vision of constructing an open blog for his students in our College of Education. That was the first story. The second story was with a different colleague who had a broader vision of constructing an open learning environment, maybe through blogs, but maybe not. She was not sure for an interesting program that I don't have time to speak about here, that's called social involvement in our college. And the third story involved some resistance, because there openness emerged, but also it was confronted with a loss of control when open spaces are constructed by different teachers in the college. So we found openness in the interviews, but as a matter of fact, it was a resistance to openness, and not the kind of positive looking view of openness as we saw today, and as we are seeing most of the presentation in this conference. Beth, it's not her real name, but in story 3, what she said, she was talking about some kind of a meeting with people who are play different roles in the administrative and technical staff of the college. And she said about that meeting that one of the main objections that were raised in this meeting was that the open blog envisaged by Jake from the first story would bypass the college official website. They were very concerned about this bypassing, about opening our students to the world. Thank you. More focused saying that I can say about that is that the main obstacle to openness, as expressed by most of our interviewees, there were about 10 of them, is that the way we presented MOOCs for them, the Connectivist MOOC, might subvert the organizational agenda and place the locus of control outside the college itself, outside the boundaries of the organization. We also found some kind of new meaning in our interviewees' words, new meanings for what is something called in the literature the need to break down the classroom walls, because they thought about some kind of gap between what our students using naturally, the technologies and the learning spaces that our students using naturally, and versus the technologies and the spaces that the college support or supply. In summary, we thought in the beginning of 2012 that we are going to meet some kind of technical obstacles. How to translate Stephen Downes' aggregator into Hebrew, how to deal with the language issue, how to translate all the OER stuff that is in English for the sake of our students who are speaking Hebrew, and how to manage with the technical people in the college, and it was not the case. What the case was resistant to openness, some kind of resistance to the innovation. In our meeting, me and Sarah, Sarah said something like, is translated here from Hebrew, control is we found out during our research that control is no longer with the teachers in behaviorism or with the learner as in constructivism, but is distributed everywhere and nowhere. I'm coming to the last few slides is a summary of the two studies, and it was not directly connected, but just happened in our college. In July of 2003, there was some kind of global thinking, or it's not global, it was local to the college community, but we were engaged all the staff and faculty and administrative staff and technology staff were engaged in some kind of conversation called Thinking Future, you see it in Hebrew, where we were trying to plan ahead and to think about the future 5 years from now for our college. Somehow, Coursera got into this conversation by same kind of presentation done by Daphna Kohler, who is Israeli also. She is a co-founder with Andrew and Meg, who spoke here. And she also was speaking from, I don't know, from Stanford. We saw it her on the screen. And she talked about XMOOC, of course, about her experience, and following that week and that presentation of Coursera, we did some survey around our college. Not many replied, but I had I don't have it here. From the few that knew something about MOOCs, after this presentation, after this week of thinking future, 5 agreed with the claim that MOOC will contribute somehow to teacher education, but 8 didn't agree at all, and 13 didn't know, still didn't know. It was slightly different when we asked about contribution to higher education, or to education in general in activities. So 10 agreed that MOOC can contribute to higher education, and 5 didn't agree. And still 11 didn't know. And you see the numbers regarding education. And another question we asked here, and I don't have time to enter into details, but we also asked about using open educational resources, and they say they are doing it frequently or sometimes, but they also say that, but they also felt unsupport from the college for using open education.
Can you please go back? There was an interesting quote from someone who said they couldn't figure out to go to a dentist.
Yeah, that's the last one.
The last one.
So, that's the last slide. One of the respondents in this short survey, it's not a real research, but still says something. He said, I have nothing against open education, but I can't imagine myself going to a dentist that gave her or his all medical education solely via MOOCs. So if we come back to the image of pedagogical innovation now, I wonder what you see, but I don't have time to here. So you can write about it, but I want to supply you one blurred image with a nice saying from Rabindranath Tagore. Don't limit a child to your own learning, for they were born in another time. And for those of you who stayed, I couldn't resist the putting the picture of my newborn, my granddaughter, who was supposed to be born tomorrow here in Park City, but born 2 weeks ago. And that would be the end of my presentation.